What's up, everybody, and welcome back into the Play the Fight Song College Football Show. The Week 5 recap is upon us. My, oh my, what a week it was. Georgia, Alabama last night. Turned out to be an incredible game. Didn't look like it at the start. We've had upsets. We had a Friday night game that came down to the wire, which we'll get to talk about on the notable scoreboard. But let's recap it all and talk. JP, initial thoughts off of Week 5 with what you expected. I mean, Georgia, Alabama was fantastic, but initial thoughts on Week 5.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. I think there's a ton of games out there that deserve to get looked at and seen as one of the better games of the day. There's plenty of them. I think the big thing is that it was sun up to sundown, and so I feel tired. It's because I'm up late watching Washington State.
I know, especially the late games were good.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be a little tighter, but I'm pumped to talk about it because it was a lot. There was a lot to take in yesterday.
There was a ton, and we're going to recap a few here and there, and then we'll mention some of the ones we don't get to break down thoroughly towards the end because there are some teams that we do need to talk about that we haven't gotten to talk about in the past yet. Like, let's lead it off with this one on a lighter note. How about Sam Houston being 4-1? They go in, beat Texas State 40-39. I mean, this Sam Houston team wasn't exactly the highest of high on our boards in the preseason. And we had a fan of Sam Houston. They belong out there. They're out there. He was like, hey, we redshirted a ton of guys last year. We're going to be pretty good. And they're 4-1. So I don't know if they're going to be a competitor in that league, but that Texas State team's no joke. And they beat them. So
hey, if you're Conference USA, you got to be on a high alert. I mean, we said that these teams coming in off the FCS have a chance to go straight to the top of Conference USA. Like they have a shot to be in the top 3 or 4 of that conference easy, I think.
That would be absolutely great for the sport if teams started competing, especially with all the movement, because we haven't gotten a chance to break down a lot of the recent news of conference realignments still going, which we'll get a chance to do that on next week's show. Hopefully we can cut a time out before we preview the Week 6 slate, which has some good matchups on it as well. But let's dive into the Week 5 previews. Let's lead it off with probably the biggest upset of the weekend. Let's go Kentucky, Ole Miss. This one ended 20-17. Ole Miss misses the game-tying field goal. Brock Vandegrift was fine, 18 for 28, 243 and a score. Obviously, Kentucky covered the 17.5, which I had, which is great. It's just a great way to start on that 2:30 slate. Or was it 11 a.m.? I think it was 11, actually.
This one was 2:30.
It was 2:30. Okay, I couldn't remember the timing of it because the Peacock transfer over from watching your team on Peacock to then like going back to the general television, it just infuriates me. And I'll talk about the Peacock experience later.
Yeah, I had for the Nebraska game at 11 and then 2:30 because Notre Dame Louisville was on Peacock too. Finding a screen for that to go on, it ended up just being a laptop because it was like I don't want to burn a whole TV, you know.
Yeah, dude. And then
Peacock experience.
One thing I don't understand about Peacock is why is the commercial breaks the same amount of length? Like it's the same time frame. Like you get the 2 minutes and 45 seconds or 2 minutes 50 seconds, but then they don't show you a commercial. They just show you 3 shitty shows on Peacock that you're not going to watch anyway. I don't know what we're doing. So
I don't know how many Peacock original out there that have actually been good.
I know. I think Steph Curry was on the cover of the one. I don't even know what was going on that channel. But I'm not on Peacock. Never put us on there again. But I'm sure with NBC being the affiliate, we will be there again. Yes. But all right, let's talk this game. What do you think? Obviously, this is a massive upset. A top 10 team goes down at home. Kentucky competes with another highly ranked team. So maybe they're just the ranked team slayer. But your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I was really high on this Ole Miss team coming into the year, and I really was comfortable with them in this spot too. But they just couldn't run the football. There's things that were going on with Kentucky's defense that really made things tough on Jackson Dart and that offense to stay in any rhythm. They hit a couple big plays late that kind of scared Kentucky, and Kentucky ended up pulling away anyway. But it was like there was no run game. The way that Lane Kiffin usually schemes things open and the way they work with the bodies they have on that team. That's not usually a problem. They struggled mightily with this. Credit Kentucky when they needed a score late, they got it twice. When they needed a stop, they got them. Like it was nonstop. Like the amount of plays they had to make just to hold on to this one because I felt like it was clear that Ole Miss was the better team, but Kentucky made every right play at the right time, nonstop. And then when your kick literally sails 65 yards left, and never has a shot, it makes you feel pretty good about it. I mean, no stress at all. That ball was off the foot and had no chance.
Kid hit the X button too early. It's one of those games where you like get the feeling that the upset was just about to happen. I mean, you get the fumble on the way into the goal line that's recovered by a tight end going into the end zone to take the lead. That's just the weird stuff that happens in college football to get an upset win. I don't know if I would hit the panic button if you're Ole Miss. I mean, obviously it's still a very long season. It's a 12-team playoff, 4-team playoff. You're probably panicking, but in today's day and age, I think they'll be fine. I didn't see they weren't terrible. It wasn't like Jackson Dart threw 4 interceptions, anything like that.
They just
hard-nosed team.
They just didn't make plays when they needed to make plays, and they sleptwalk through trying to run the football. And when you don't run the football well as your Ole Miss, you find yourself in a bad spot in bad situations, and they did consistently and did make the plays. I mean, they got to look at the schedule though. As I try to pull it up, the worry of 10-2 or 10-2 not being good enough if you don't have a good enough win, you have to play Georgia still, Oklahoma, LSU. Those are your big ones, right?
Yeah,
those are ones that you could think losable. We saw Georgia today, we'll get to, but I don't know. I feel like they still have a good enough schedule to get there. But if you're going to lose games like this to teams that I think you're better than, then it gets worrisome because some of these are on the road.
Nonetheless.
Yeah.
At home. Losing this at home is the biggest key here. I just don't. What a fight by Mark Stoops' squad, because you get in a dogfight with Georgia at home week 2, whatever, makes sense.
Yeah.
But then to go on the road, this Kentucky team has life, and it's not even any one standout player that's carrying to this. It's just a team win, and their defense is just standing up when they need to. So shout out to Kentucky. Could be a dangerous team for some ranked team down the road looking to make a push. So that was a big one. Let's go to the other SEC game that everybody wants to talk about. Georgia, Alabama was absolute must-see TV. Alabama rolls out of the gate, gets up 21-0 incredibly early at end of the first quarter. You're like, oh my God, this team didn't miss a beat. All of a sudden, you're going to open that door. You're going to creak that door open for Kirby Smart and that team, and with the talent they have, all of a sudden Georgia takes the lead with 2 minutes and 45 seconds left. One play, Ryan Williams, the 17-year-old down the sideline. All of a sudden, Alabama has it. They convert to 2-point conversion, and now you got to drive down the field if you're Carson Beck, which they couldn't do it twice. Alabama takes it 41-34. Huge pick in the end zone to end it. Your thoughts on this matchup? I thought Milroe was really good.
Yeah, Milroe was top-notch in this one, on the ground and through the air. Put a lot of balls in great spots. I mean, 80-something% completion percentage is insane. If you're going to give your flowers to somebody, it's got to be Alabama, right? The ability to get up like that, give up the comeback, go down, and then just immediately answer, and then to hold on late. I think that's huge. That's an up and down of everything, and easily could have been a spot where they just slowed down on that drive. Obviously in one play, it wasn't much time to really dwell on anything. You hit one play, one catch.
What a move.
And just, it changes everything. And so you could tell the air is out of that building before that ball got put up in the air. And when it was caught, it was a different place. Georgia, man, I mean, slow starts kill people. And this is exactly what happened. A slow start for them, 28 points. I feel like it's too much. And obviously it was too much. They ended up losing the game, but you can't go down that many points to anybody, let alone on the road against a top 5 team who clearly deserves to be in the top 5. So Carson Beck looked off. I felt like a lot of his passes were off. He missed open throws. A lot of throws that needed to be up and out where only their guy could get it, especially the one he threw late, or the last pass he threw that got picked off. That ball needs to be up and outside, and receiver had no chance at that. I mean, it was an easy pick. There was multiple of those I felt like he missed and didn't give his guys a shot. At the same time, it took him a while to get comfortable and truly believe in his receiving core. It felt like even now I still don't think they have a guy they really trust.
Right.
But they were spreading it around and found a way to do it that way. But I don't know. It was weird. I didn't expect that to get off to that kind of start, especially with the bad turnovers from Beck. It was weird. The game felt weird, and it just got more strange as the night went on.
I think second half Georgia was pretty impressive, but the first half, I mean, you can't, give up a touchdown drive, 3 and out, give up a touchdown drive, turnover, score. All of a sudden, 21-0, and you're playing from behind the whole game, because this second half, the Georgia team, they were fine. They were productive. They moved the ball down the field. They finished drives. All of a sudden, they found themselves back into it, but you'd given up too much at the start. that all it took was one big play from a receiver who killed you the entire game. Ryan Williams, I think he had 6 receptions for over 150.
Yeah.
I mean, he was
that
incredible.
freshman receiver class. I had to explain this to somebody last night. We were watching the Auburn games. We're watching Cam Coleman, and he goes, "That kid's pretty good." I go, "Wait till you know that he's not even the top ranked receiver in this class, and there's 2 other ones that are just as good." It's like the best receiver class you've seen in so long. All these
really
freshmen.
long. Jeremiah
one,
Smith
like,
is one of those, right? Jeremiah Smith,
yes,
Ryan Williams.
Jeremiah Smith, Cam Coleman, and
Ryan Williams.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
that's an absolute stack. That's like one of those pictures you see from Ohio State that's like Ibuka, Smith and Jigba, like those guys all on the same team, and you're like, holy shit, how did that happen?
Yeah, these guys would all be the number 1 receiver in their class if they weren't in the same class as each other. Basically, is what this came down to.
Yes.
So, like this one in this game, I think Alabama earned it in every aspect. If you're Georgia, though, does it hurt more that you came back and then had the lead and then ended up losing, or do you kind of take that on chin and be like, all right, this team, a really bad start, we avoid that, we're in a game with everybody. Yes, the big play stinks and giving that up and ended up losing. Like, there's obviously things to fix, but is it? I don't know. Like, if you would have just got run out of the building,
I think it's B. I mean, yeah, run out of the building is like hit the alarms, hit the panic. This team isn't what it is anymore. And the way they fought back, it's going to carry them.
Yeah,
it could carry them back to Atlanta. Like, if they would have lost this game, I mean, it was 30-7 at half, man. This thing could have gone so south so fast. And nope, they fought back. Kirby Smart's team responded well. They just couldn't get it done towards the end. But still, I think you take more confidence out of the second half of that if you're Georgia.
I could have gone either side on this. Like, if there's a group of like dads behind us we were sitting at the bar, and they had Alabama, like they're betting on Alabama. So when that game started, they left at halftime. So like I never got to see their reaction of, oh shit, we may lose this one. And I don't know if they were, I wish Jake was here because they were talking Iowa State too, and I wanted to give him hell. Anyway, they were talking, and then like, I don't know, they were on their high horse when Alabama got up to that lead, and they were like, yeah, it's just Alabama, man. It's easy money. I'm like, I wonder how much these guys throw down, and like if they think they're sharps actually, because it was just funny to like the interaction. It's funny. I don't know. It's just when everybody knows people like that. Everybody's been that person in their life. It's like in your sports betting on something, you're like, that's easy money. Like, I knew it, dude. I'm like, yeah, it evens out more than you think.
No, that was a tight game. I should have said this at the beginning of this, but yes, the description of this live stream says Alabama blast Georgia. Yes, that description was written at halftime. So me and the dads were all on the same page.
Yeah.
They went home, tucked their kids into bed, didn't watch the end of the game. And all of a sudden I'm sitting there texting the group chat like, hey, I look like an asshole. I don't know how to retype this. It couldn't let me edit it. But yes, I do have that Alabama blast Georgia. Not true.
Yeah.
Obviously, Georgia came back in the second half and dominated the scoreboard, but still just couldn't get it done. It's too much room to make up.
I'd venture to say that I would take Georgia if they played again tomorrow.
I would. I
don't know. Like, I could have gone either side picking this game on the board, and I wouldn't have been mad about it. But
after watching it,
confident in Georgia.
Neutral site, I'm taking Georgia.
I think I'd take Georgia anywhere.
Yeah. Especially after
again, might not be a popular opinion. I know Alabama just won. I know all these things people get mad about. I'm just telling you how I feel about the teams. Like, I don't know. I like Georgia. I thought they were more talented in every spot. They obviously started out really rough, and that killed them. But props to Alabama. You won the game. You put yourself in the driver's seat for a shot at an SEC title game and a bye. So,
yeah, they're still in it for sure. This will be probably a matchup we'll see down the line, maybe, especially with the SEC, the way it's set up now. But that is Georgia, Alabama. Obviously, we can go all day on that one with the way it ended. I will say, obviously, it finished as an instant classic. But I saw like the greatest college football game of all time. I don't know what the first half, the way it went, if you could classify it as that. Like, the greatest college football games of all time are back and forth the entire game. This was just an awesome comeback by Kirby Spartan squad.
That's a good point. I don't know. Like, it's definitely up there.
The last 10 minutes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, trying to think, like, best. That Ohio State-Georgia game in the semifinal was so damn good.
That was so good.
Washington-Texas last year as a semifinal was damn good. I'm just, like, obviously off the top of my head, those are recent ones. But, I mean, I feel like there's some out there that were like, yeah, those are better games front to back.
Yeah, 100%. But all right, that is that one. Let's move down the line. Let's talk a little Big 12 without our Big 12 guy here. Let's talk K-State rolling at home against the Pokes, 42-20. Avery Johnson is pretty good again, 19 for 31, 259, and 3 scores. Had some yards on the ground as well as he always does. But it's a huge win for K-State. And is it time to hit the alarm a little bit if you're Oklahoma State in that offense with Bowman?
Yeah, somebody start clicking something. I'm trying to find the guy. So when I was running the account yesterday, there's a guy that's an Oklahoma State fan, and he hates Alan Bowman. It's like that's his whole account, and he's getting. I'm trying to find it so I can give him a shout out because it was hilarious watching him just like get ripped by Oklahoma State fans. And the second half happened, and people stopped making fun of him. Kansas State. I mean, this ended up working out the way we kind of all thought it would. Is that Kansas State would just lean on the run game, and Oklahoma State, if you don't find the run game, you're SOL. Like they did for the first couple drives in the first quarter, and then it was gone. Like Alan Bowman looked crappy. Couldn't throw anything. He was missing open guys. Then he was throwing picks and he was throwing into triple coverage. And then the run game wasn't going. And then they couldn't stop anybody on the other side. It was like it just got out of hand fast. Kansas State stayed within who they are, played great defense, and just gashed this football team. Like outside of the trick play, flea flicker trick play, Oklahoma State pulled.
That was early. Yeah. When you're whipping trick plays out early, your offense doesn't have a good identity.
Yeah. They're at 13 points. Like this was a shellacking. This 2 different halves. And Kansas State looks like the team we thought they would in the preseason, and Oklahoma State looks like a team that brought back a lot of guys with experience and not a lot of talent. It's what it feels like, which I know is kind of wrong, but like it's exactly what it feels like right now.
Ollie Gordon just can't get going, man. I just don't understand. Like if you're at the quarterback position, like bring in Zane Flores. I think a lot of the Pokes fans wouldn't hate to see that, especially from what they saw last week. But the Bowman era is over. Like that guy, get him an Indeed jersey. He's still a good player, but for what this team needs now, no, he's not shocking anybody with anything. The guy's got 11 years of film out there. So this was an absolute ass kicking. Huge win for K-State to bounce back. And obviously BYU shows their colors, and that's still just a good football team that went out and went on the road as an underdog. Come on. The scared line from Vegas shouldn't have been. They were wrong.
Yeah, it was close. They
was close. The butthole was puckering at the end for sure. I was like, watching the Nebraska game, I was like, what's the score? Oh, it's 28-7. I was like, I told you. See, an idiot. And they're like 34-28. I'm like, oh, okay, here we go.
They're in this one.
Yeah.
At Big 12 Pokes Nation is the guy who was just tweeting about Alan Bowman. Just nonstop. He could not. He goes.
Those
he said, Alan Bowman, get the fuck off my team. He's losing. He was so mad. It was nonstop, and people were not happy with it. But it was funny because it's a real thing. Like you cannot continue to plug that kid in there and expect this team to do what they did last year again. The Big 12 feels like it's too good. People know how to operate a team with one-dimensional and a back that good. He's still tough, and you can't block for him, and you have nothing to supplement it. So somebody figured something out on how to stop Oklahoma State, and the whole Big 12 conference seems like they got the recipe.
The good news is I think we're in week 5. So if Bowman was going to redshirt, he would have had to do it by now. So he's gone. True. He's got to be gone. There's no way there's eligibility left for Alan Bowman out there. But all right, that is K-State and Oklahoma State very shortly, but we had to talk about it. Huge. The door is open for K-State now, and we'll talk about that later, obviously, from last night. Let's go back to the Big Ten quickly. Let's go Penn State, Illinois. This one was slow, Big Ten style, 21-7. Penn State wins the whiteout energy game. I heard there was some debate that they couldn't call this the whiteout for some reason. I don't know why.
I don't understand that concept. Somebody's going to have to explain that to me on why that. It's just like they didn't schedule it, and they're like, this is the best one we're going to get, and nobody wants to.
Yeah, I have no idea why that was like that, but it was still a great atmosphere. I wouldn't say it was up to par, maybe past whiteouts, but maybe that's just the energy edition. But Katron Allen, pictured below, really good game. 18 carries, 102 yards, 1 touchdown. Both the guys in the backfield. Singleton was really good as well for Penn State, but Altmaier came out. They rolled down the field again, scored on their first drive, and you're like, damn. Like, I will say, as a team who just got beat by Illinois, you're kind of like, this is a nice little baseline of whether or not that Illinois team's good, to say that, hey, maybe an overtime loss at home to Illinois is not that bad. This wasn't a huge alarm for me. Like, this was, okay, Illinois is like legitimately a good football team, and that's okay, because to go in there and stay competitive like they were, cover the number, Illinois is like legitimately good schematically.
Yeah. So. I mean, they scored in the first quarter on that opening drive, and then they didn't score again. And so that's the worry part. But at the same time, they were 7-7 at half, 14-7 going into the fourth quarter, and then Penn State scored late in that fourth quarter, correct?
Yes.
So like it it's just one of those things that Illinois couldn't stay on the field long enough to sustain things. I mean, Luke Altmaier was sacked multiple times, had negative rushing yards. Like if Luke Altmaier's got negative rushing yards, your offense isn't
You're getting
rolling.
sacked.
They didn't run without like the negative plays from Altmaier. Like they had 60 some rushing yards. They weren't great. Through the air, they weren't explosive. I said that in our preview. I said this isn't an explosive offense, a very balanced one. Like 6 different receivers had 2 receptions or more, or over 25, 30 yards receiving. It's just not a team that's explosive, but they are very balanced. And Penn State found a way to just supplement that and get them off the field quick and not let big plays just ruin them. Because if Illinois hits 1 or 2, those drives extend. Because it's tough to go 75, 70 yards consistently on a Penn State defense like this, right? If you're Penn State, I think you are happy that Drew Aller didn't need to throw the ball 40 times in this one. Like, what is he, 15 to 21? I got it up right here for 135, no touchdowns. Like, didn't need him. It felt like they just were like, you're here for dinking and dunking, hitting guys open that we've schemed open for you. Let's run the ball. Let's control this football game. And they got everything they wanted. So, obviously, they probably want to be pulling away a little more, but I don't think they're upset with the way this one played out.
There's a good defensive back group on both sides of the ball. I thought Penn State's was obviously a little bit better. Illinois really couldn't throw the ball down the football field like they did in Lincoln to really get things rolling. And then it's the back-to-back weeks. Yeah. It's back-to-back weeks where Penn State gives up 0 points in the second half to an opponent. So this defense stands on its heels. They're very, very good at halftime adjustments. I mean, this game was 7-7 at half. 14-7. It should have been 21-7 with Luke Altmaier made the old Luke Altmaier play where he threw it directly to the middle of a linebacker's chest. They pick it, house it, but then first 2 plays later. Yes, first one of the year. So still an insane start for Luke Altmaier. He still looked pretty good other than the sacks, but sometimes it's out of your control.
Do we know who Illinois has next? They need a break.
I want to say, I think it might be a bye, but if not, especially going back-to-back weeks, Memorial, and then
they
Happy Valley is insane. So, yeah,
maybe a bye. Then Purdue, then Michigan and Oregon. So their October's pretty tough, too.
Ooh, Michigan, Illinois. Illinois will handle Purdue.
Remember the last time they played? Was that last year or 2 years ago that BLM
2 years ago, I think.
House and, probably should have had them.
Yeah. That was 2 years ago, I believe. But Bielema is just so good. He's just a guy,
that team
not very likable guy. But he's just a guy that schemes so well and knows how to win in the conference that no matter if they're 4-5 or 5-1, you just know it's going to team that will be ready to dogfight you anywhere you go. So not a terrible game for Illinois by any means, but a huge win for Penn State to keep it rolling. I don't know who they have next, but the Big Ten feels like it's went back to its old.
Penn State's got one of the easier schedules in the Big Ten. But this one's big because you got to control it the way you wanted to control it. It's a test. You got tested. I'm not going to say you got out of there scot-free, and you won. And now you kind of feel like, hey, Big 12 title games or Big 10 title games in a real shot here. Like if we just play good football, even one loss probably gets us in. I think I think they have a shot to be into the Big 10 title game, and I have them in the Big 10 title game in our preseason, but schedule based and then things like that. But yeah, good for Penn State. Illinois, nothing to hang your hat about, honestly.
We will get to talk about Michigan a little bit later, so we will get to go blue, but let's move back to the ACC quickly after we put the cap on that one. Let's talk Louisville, Notre Dame. This one was an absolute hell of a matchup. Notre Dame takes it 31-24 at home. Riley Leonard, 17 for 23 for 163 and 2 scores. So not a massive passing attack, but enough to get the job done. That's really what we said that they needed. This was a push, I believe. We had the line at 7 flat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So first push of the year on the board, but Louisville still looked good. They competed on the road in a tough environment. Didn't sound that loud, I will say, on TV and in videos I saw on social media, but still a huge win for the Fighting Irish. What do you think on this game?
Louisville just could not get it going. They just couldn't get it going. It felt like they had 17 opportunities to tie this game, and they just couldn't do it. Just a bad turnover, unlucky. Shuck hits a guy in the chest. He drops it. Falls right into the DB's hands. Bad luck there. Then you throw a pick late, and they go pick 6. And then you throw it just was any time you had a chance to tie this thing up and really prove that you belonged, it just fell through your hands. And I said, and I was very adamant that I thought Louisville was a better team than Notre Dame. I mean, I guess I'm wrong because they lost, but like it felt like they were right there for a chance to win it the
No,
entire time.
it did.
Like, and Jake was very adamant that Notre Dame was just that much better. And I said, I don't think so. And I think this game kind of proved it to me. Like sometimes a game just doesn't play out the way you think it's going to. But to see the way that it had a chance like 5 times and it just didn't work out for him angered me a little bit because once they got off, I think with that they Notre Dame got out to a hot start.
Yeah.
Like 21 in the first quarter. And then it was silence. And it's like, you're right there. Just go get it, you know? But I really wanted this one for Louisville, and I really thought they had the goods to do it. Just didn't work out that way. And I think Shuck showed that he's good. Again, the pick was literally not his fault. He hit a guy in the chest. It hit off his chest, then his hands and his chest and his hands and into the DB's hands. Like it should have been caught. It's a straight drop.
I don't know if we got the answers we needed for Notre Dame, right? Like on the offensive side of the ball.
I think they benefited from things to go their way, like a bounce of ball type thing. But honestly, like I don't think they're a bad football team, and I said that too in our preview. But I just don't think they are. To me, that's not a top 12 football team in the country. I know they're not ranked in the top 12 right now, but even if they go 11-1, I don't think that team's good enough. Like the defense is good enough. As an overall team, it is not.
I would agree with that. Their secondary was still really good. Tyler Shuck was good. He wasn't terrible. I mean, that is a tough place to go in and play. I mean, you're a 7-point underdog. You lose by 7. Like, I wouldn't say it was anything below expectations for Louisville, but we just needed answers from Notre Dame, and we still haven't got them. We still have not got them. We still need to find an offensive identity. Riley Leonard still isn't throwing the ball more than 20 times a game, and maybe that's the team that they're going to be. But if that's the team they're going to be, you're not going to get a lot of people fighting for you when you get towards the end of the year. They're talking about, is this a top 12 team in college football?
Well,
you don't have the strength of schedule to do that.
He led the team with rushing at like 50 yards, only threw for like 130 or something. Like
160.
I don't know, man. I just don't think they are that good.
No.
Something about him is off. I just see that differently than other people, I guess, with Notre Dame.
And wouldn't it just be easier? How many times we had this conversation to where you get down the road and you're like, hey, Notre Dame, win your conference, and then it doesn't matter. Like, if this is the play style you're going to do, but like, no, you have to be a little bit flashy. I get you're highly regarded by the world of college football being an independent. I get it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Great. You used to have your own network. Awesome. But still, we need to see it. Like, you're going to go play 3 or 4 more games against lesser opponents. Like, you're playing an ACC schedule, and the ACC sucks, and you don't have a chance to win the ACC. So I don't understand why they're still in that spot, but get into a conference again. Let me say that again. I mean, you're in it for basketball. Are they not an ACC school in basketball?
Yeah. And everything, but
I'm not saying you got to join it in lacrosse or whatever the hell you want to keep out of it, but this would help you down the line because you still aren't passing the eye test for a majority of college football fans. And I would assume this is going to be one that you look at the end of the year and Notre Dame is, 10-2, 9-3, or 11-1. And you're like, I don't know. Remember that game remember that game? You remember that?
There's more.
Is there anything that sticks out? So I don't think they're in a great spot, but it's still a huge win nonetheless. It's hard to sit here.
I mean, you won the game.
Yeah.
Like that's half the battle.
It's really hard to sit here and be like, Notre Dame shouldn't make the playoff, but they're beating ranked teams. So
they just got a lot in the rest of the schedule.
Yeah.
Like that. I feel like something's going to happen again.
It's a back and forth debate for sure on this team. But all right, time to open it up. That's the individual previews we have. Let's go notable scoreboard. I listed off 4 on here. A couple of them I'll explain why. But let's talk Miami Vatek Friday night to start it off. Did he catch it?
I don't know. I've been on both sides like 6 times. Initial reaction, I said no. Saw a couple of replays, and I was like, maybe he did.
Yeah.
And then I kind of landed on he didn't. Like he came down with it, but as he was coming down, it was kind of like getting shifted off his hip anyway. Like,
yeah. As soon as he hit the ground, it was like it started to raise off of his chest and in his arm slot. I
don't know.
I thought it was insane for them to call it a touchdown on the field.
Well, yeah, I thought they came out and the first ref said it was interception. Like, he was waving his hands like interception. It wasn't straight up. It was waving them. It was like interception. And then all of a sudden they're like, just kidding. It's like, oh,
just kidding. Better than you. A touchdown because I don't think the video that they were looking at was enough to overturn whatever they ruled on the field. So if you rule out an interception after it, and you probably should have from the way the play looked initially, Then to say touchdown, now you're trying to take a touchdown off the board. I don't know if that video said no enough.
Yeah, I don't know.
Indisputable is a
that'll go down
there.
as one of the plays that this is like a black and blue dress or gold and white kind of thing. Like,
oh my God. It's black and blue, people.
I could see either way. Like, honestly, like if you said catch to me 10 years down the road, I'd be like, okay. If you said interception to me, I'd be like, okay. Like, I don't
That's
know.
one
either.
that, you know, Vodtech Miami 2035. They're going to put that up and be like, it was a catch on
that'll
the
be played for
video
eternity.
before the game.
Yeah.
Yes. But it was still a good matchup nonetheless. Miami survived. I mean, they
Good
had
for Tech though.
Yeah,
they did not need to get up
team
and
everybody
play this
thought.
Yes, they did not need to get up and, you know, travel on the road to Miami in an environment that felt like Miami was getting people in the building. They played really well, and so that was surprising because they didn't have to get off the mat. I mean, they had some rough. We lose to Vanderbilt and Rutgers. Now Rutgers is good, we know, but you lose to Vanderbilt, and then you got to go play a team like Miami. If you're not ready to roll, you can get run out of that building, and they were ready to roll the whole time.
They were. Miami was playing from behind. Cam Ward got it done. We saw a little glimmer of October Cam Ward, the same Cam Ward fallout that we saw at Washington State multiple times.
Oh my God. The pregame was just all Cam Ward. It's the only guy they talked about on that roster. I go, do you know they have Damian Martinez in the backfield? Do you know they have like 4 receivers that are like NFL level?
Probably one of the better receivers in college football.
One of the better offensive lines. Like they'll have multiple first round picks on that offensive line. It was all Cam Ward. It's all they talked about. He's this. First possession. Stupid play.
Yep.
Okay. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then they go, oh, you know what makes him so good is that he bounces back. And then he did 2 touchdown drives. And then he made another dumb play. And then he made another dumb play. And they were just.
And then he made like one of the better plays of the weekend with a
true
flip as he's going down. Like he's just that guy. He just is, especially in October. Like he's going to throw his 3 picks, but he'll throw 5 touchdowns.
They just, oh my God, they just wouldn't shut up about him. It was the only thing they could talk about. It was like, did you guys just learn about him or something? It was always, who does this guy remind you of? Who does this guy? Look at Cam Ward. Are you serious? Like, there's other people on the field. Drones is playing really well. This team is playing really well in a lot of spots, and not just Cam Ward. I just kind of got annoyed with the fact that it was, and we are a Cam Ward show. We
always have been.
Yeah, like when he picked Wazoo, we heard about him at Incarnate Word, and we were looking at him, and we were like, guys, like, pay attention here. So, like, I'm not hating on Cam Ward. It's just some of these broadcasts, like, it was too much. Go back. If you can rewatch the game on like YouTube, somebody clips the whole game like live, how much they talk about him. It is insane.
He was probably the Heisman front runner, or at least top 3 before that game. He's still up there. It's not like this dwindled any of his chances if he continues on. But as a Cam Ward show, we're also very familiar with how Cam Ward seasons go, especially in the Wazoo era. It was red hot. This is the best player in college football. Holy shit. Number 1 pick. Then all of a sudden, October creeps around. He throws 2 or 3 picks in the first couple of games. And then the last 2 games in October, he gets hammered, sacked 5 times, throws 4 interceptions. Like, that's just what Cam Ward's done. And he's trying to avoid that segment. But it's also great that college football fans are discovering Cam Ward. And, like, he's the guy people are emulating.
The Cam Ward experience.
He's so nonchalant. He doesn't, like, this is what he's been doing. He did it at Incarnate Word. He did it at Washington State. And now he's just doing it more in the national spotlight, which is awesome for the sport. But he's that guy. He has been. And I mean, there's a reason that it was either Miami or the NFL draft. And I still think he would have made an NFL roster pretty easily before his Miami days. There's just like this.
I think there's reasons that he came back. And I think that people told him to come back. It was because of these turnover and decision problems and figuring some stuff out. But I think it's going to help him a ton. And I think we're seeing that right now is like his response to things is better than it had been in the past.
Back to the game as well, though. Brent Pry's clock management was a little questionable there towards the end. No,
you know who wants to have a heyday like get after Brent Pry is Schaefer. Schaefer does not.
He's a very good football coach.
But he did. I don't know. There were decisions on both sides, and we know Chris Paul is not the best game manager and like in-game coach, but both sides were kind of questionable. And I think they just ended up canceling each other out on how they handled that one because it could have been. A lot of, I don't know why I just typed it. I'm trying to get to our next game we have on here to pull up that late play. But I think if you look at this game and you look at it from 10,000 feet, do you think Virginia Tech like stays on this roll and plays better and better, or do you think they're out of gas now?
You would think so, right? Like this is the team that we were all like, hey, Virginia Tech might be back this year. It might be a little energy in Blacksburg. this is the performances we thought we were going to get from drones and the whole team. I mean, they did this on the road. Think about if they play like this at home against a top tier opponent in the ACC. All of a sudden, they can get late in the game, and you have that advantage. And I don't want to say Miami has an advantage at Hard Rock Stadium. I don't think anybody does. But this is a team that is college football is better when Virginia Tech's better. And yes, I think they can build off this and obviously maybe get to that. What are they at? 2 wins now? 7 wins?
2 and 3. Okay.
6, 7, 8 wins. 8 was you're asking quite a bit because they have a couple of tough matchups down the line. But this is the team we wanted to see. It's just like, are you hitting the stride at a good point where you can build off of it and get to the Pinstripe Bowl, or are you going to hit the stride not enough where you end up winning 3 more games, one of them is meaningful, but you go 5 and 7, and now you're like, what the hell? We're in the same spot.
Yeah, that game made no sense for a lot of there's things happening in that game that I just didn't have on my bingo card watching it.
Right.
But it was fun. It was a ton of fun and good for Miami. You got to win games. Somehow you got to find a way to win games, and they did.
Yeah, that's an easy one that 4-0 Miami or 5-0 Miami loses in the past. Whether or not it's Cam Ward. This is the one that Miami loses. The Van Dyke teams lose, and then all of a sudden they lose. Yes.
Era. Yeah.
Yes. That's a throwback. But all right, let's move back to the Big Ten. Let's talk Michigan, Minnesota. The only reason this one's up there is, was it offsides, Jordan?
That's what I literally was doing.
No, he wasn't offsides. It was bad. It was a bad call.
So close.
But you're asking a lot anyway after. Let's say they get
you better be damn sure. My thoughts, honestly, you better be damn sure if we're going to call offsides on us, like on an onside kick. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking at it right now as he follows through the guys crossing the line.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, it better be egregious if we're throwing that flag, in my opinion, because that's happened to like Iowa and they played Florida early 2000s or late 2000s in a bowl game. But it's also like, I don't know. It felt like Minnesota deserved to win that one. Like Michigan just kind of gave in early. They had a real shot to kind of put them away, and they just kind of settled, and Minnesota locked back in and went through it all. So it was a ton of fun to watch that one. I wanted Minnesota to win this one.
There's a decent chance with how games went this weekend and the teams that lost that Michigan sneaks back in at 11 in the AP poll, maybe 10. And I don't think there's a single soul out there that's not dressed in maize and blue that thinks this is a top 10 team in college football, because they were the same team. They couldn't throw. They ground and pound their way to 27 points, and then they just have enough talent on defense to withhold the last second push.
He's not offsides.
No, he's not. That's what people were infuriated
also,
on it.
Insane that none of them touched it early, the way that ball curved into Minnesota and then rolled back to the outside where it was easy to grab. Like the onside kick was pristine. Like could not have thrown the ball better.
Yes, no. It was an incredible kick. They recovered it. How many times do we get a chance as college football fans to see an onside recovery late in the game like that of a tight game? Pretty much never.
I agree.
So
how about the catch by Jackson late to make?
Oh my God, Daniel Jackson!
How do you
so
catch that
weird.
ball?
It's so weird that Daniel Jackson's at Minnesota. I mean, this is the guy where you're recruiting them in college football 25, and the deal breaker is playing style, and Minnesota does not fit the playing style to have an elite receiver like that. Get him the hell out of Minneapolis.
He's getting assaulted, basically, and he curves around the thing,
spinning,
and
full
pins
spin.
it to himself. It changes. I don't get it. I don't know how you catch football like that.
I've seen it before. He's the one who dragged his toe back against Nebraska in the opener last year. So
that was also gross. This is so good, that, but
he is so good. That's probably one of the better catches. I mean, that'll be on every highlight tape throughout the entire season of college football plays. So unfortunately, Minnesota didn't get a chance to finish it. But Brosmer was better than I thought. I thought Brosmer, especially the first game of the year against North Carolina, I was like, man, this is going to be a long year for Minnesota.
I'd be interested to see the splits on Michigan first half, second half, rushing totals and offensive totals.
Yeah, they definitely hit a wall.
Yes, I think so. Like, Orgy's 10 of 18 for a touchdown and a pick for 86 yards.
A lot for him.
Mullins goes 24 for 111. Donovan Edwards was okay, 9 of 34. Like, they weren't very good. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like they hit their point and Minnesota figured them out, and here comes Minnesota.
Yep. That's just the way it's been going. But all right, that is the Big Ten one. I just want to briefly mention it because the onside kick was such a debate. And I know people were just
I
giving
don't
Joel
think he was
Klatt
offside.
hell for his opinion on it during the game. But also, as you're announcing the game, I think things are much different than what you're saying than when you get to watch it 12 times back.
You're
Like a
processing
viewer
it
does.
as you have to say it to somebody.
Yes, it's very hard. So it's like doing a live show. But all right, let's go down the line. Let's talk a little bit of believe Jake classified this as the dumpster fire game of the week. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't think Oklahoma's a dumpster fire, but they got a decent performance out of their new quarterback. Michael Hawkins Jr., pretty good, 10 for 15, 161, also had 70 rushing yards and a touchdown. And Oklahoma survives it on the road. It looked like Auburn had control once they got the lead. Here comes a pick six. Here comes Hawkins, and Oklahoma survives to stay in the top 25 another day. Auburn, shit is hitting the fan again. It's panic mode button. What are your thoughts on this game and Oklahoma?
What an interception. Just like zero coverage, drop him into coverage. Peyton Thorne thinks he has a guy over the middle. Linebacker sinks right to that spot. Perfect. I mean, the ball is hummed to get it back over the middle, and Thorne puts it right in this guy's hands. And how he holds on and then gets around the edge and scores is beyond
Auburn just can't find a quarterback, man. They can't get the
2025. Here we come.
Yes, they're starting to become a little bit of the Nebraska level of every year you're on their back video during the preseason, like teams that are going to bounce back this year. Auburn and Nebraska are always on there. So shout out to our new hand-in-hand mate. But this is a huge win for Oklahoma. It is. I think it gives you leeway with your SEC schedule throughout the rest of the year. You build some confidence. You get good experience for Hawkins Jr. on the road. I mean, this is a tough place to play. It was still rocking, and he handled business. It was huge for them. I'm not saying it's huge in the fact that they're going to go to Atlanta, but it's huge for them that the fact that they can get to 8-9 wins their first year in the league when everybody kind of wrote them off with that offense last week.
I agree.
I like this win for Oklahoma.
That's a Venables win. That's a Venables. We had to have this win to basically prove to people that this program is still moving in the right direction, even the offensive troubles are a little worrisome.
I mean, Jake threw them in the dumpster fire quick with Jackson Arnold.
I thought we understood what Oklahoma was going to be this year. We knew they weren't going to be great. They were going to be good. They're going to have really good defense. The offense had to figure it out. I thought we knew. And then now we're getting what we thought we knew. And people are like pissed about it. It's like,
I think Jake was more mad at the sleeper team accusations or title we put on Oklahoma when a sleeper team, the SEC's 9-3 on the verge of 10-2. This is Oklahoma.
A sleeper in the SEC also has to have the talent level. And there's not a lot of teams in the SEC that have the talent level to go win that thing. And the ones that do aren't sleepers. They're ones getting bet to win the league. Like Tennessee was a hot bet. That I wouldn't call them a sleeper. There's a lot of people saying that they're going to be really good. That's what I mean. It's like we had to dig a little deeper in the SEC to find one, I think.
Well, yeah, we did have Tennessee on one sleeper list, but then when you see them now, they're a contender. They're not a sleeper. They're a contender for the national championship, let alone the SEC. But we didn't get it. They had a bye week this week. Hopefully we'll get a chance to break down Tennessee again soon. I'm sure we will with the schedule they have coming up, especially the third Saturday in October.
Yes.
But I want to move the page back to the Big Ten. And this is a weird one to have on here. People are probably like, why the hell are they recapping Indiana and Maryland? Well, we haven't gotten a chance to talk about the Hoosiers, and there's about a 90% chance that they are going to be either receiving votes, definitely receiving votes, if not in the top 25 this week. This team wins again, 42-28. What are your thoughts on Indiana? Because I know I have mine.
Dude, I tell you what, just a gritty bunch. Like, they really had to take a couple shots to the face here in this one. And then just to respond. Rourke scared me. I thought he was going to be hurt again. He got rolled up on and twisted an ankle pretty good. The two interceptions early scared the hell out of me. I think if they don't turn the ball over twice with two bad picks early, I think this is in hand before that. Like, that's what Maryland capitalized on. Billy Edwards is good. The Maryland offense is good. They ran the football well. And obviously they have incredible weapons in Prather and some other guys on the outside. But like Indiana, just to stay in this one and control it towards the end and really take hold of that thing and not let it go, shows you that Signetti was that good of a hire. And I think Rourke is fitting that really well. They have an identity, and Indiana knows who Indiana is. And again, like, it could have gotten weird there in Bloomington, and it felt like it did not. Once it kind of hit its apex, and it just settled right back down.
Signetti's a weird weird guy to me. And it's not the fact that he's not a good coach, because I think he's an elite coach, but he is he verges on the edge of cocky at sometimes. Like, he's just a winner. And sometimes that's the most dangerous team within their first year of a head coach, because a lot of these guys, they get into a game like this and they're like, hey, you're supposed to win. It's our first year. We don't have this. We need to improve this. He's like, nah, we sucked on defense. We need to be like, he just expects this team to win now. Like, he has no plans for this team to build. Like, this is his product. We knew they were going to be elite at the skill position because of the guys they brought in from JMU. They look like they have that. They obviously give up their points. But Indiana, and I know this just because Nebraska has them on the schedule a couple weeks down the line here in Bloomington, and people are kind of hitting the panic button like, oh, we're not beating Indiana like it's Ohio State. This team hasn't played anybody. And even Maryland, who lost to Michigan State 2 weeks ago, isn't as good as what they're going to play. So, no, I'm not hitting like Indiana's a contender. Indiana's a Big Ten contender. Like, no, I really do think this team's going to have their hiccups here soon. They definitely have their issues, which everybody can see, but their offense is very good. We knew they were going to be good at the skill position. Of course they're going to score points.
They'll be 6-0 off a bye week with Nebraska coming in. They play Northwestern next week. They get a bye.
I literally think Nebraska's their first test on their whole schedule.
Well, they go Nebraska,
UCLA,
Nebraska, Washington. They get Michigan, Ohio State back-to-back weeks in November. That's about tough to get for them. Obviously, tough 2 games in a row, but with
beforehand, though, they played like they put up 77 on Western Illinois.
Yeah,
you're not following the Leathernecks closely, but if you did, you would know that
they are.
There's not very many teams that don't put up 77 on the Western Illinois Leathernecks. It's not the program that's going to compete against a Power 4 team.
Yeah, I do think 54 to Northern Illinois and 51 to Illinois State. So yeah, they give a lot of points.
They give a lot of points. Not a lot of defense going on there in purple and gold. But Indiana, they're still off to a better start than I really thought they would be. But it's not like a contending team. I know we need to talk about them because people are talking about them. They're going to be ranked this week. They're going to receive votes, even from me. Maybe not in the top 25, but definitely in the top 30, just because I think there's a few other Big Ten teams that deserve it more. Maybe Rutgers, maybe Illinois. Obviously, do you think Illinois, this is an off-topic question, do you think Illinois is going to drop out at 19?
In the AP poll?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
People don't. It's the AP voters. It's not.
Yeah, that's
like,
fair.
They see loss.
They will not be out of my poll.
Loss. Okay, they covered the spread. They were within 7 with like 2 minutes left.
In what is highly regarded as the toughest environment in an entire college football season.
Yes.
Well, they did this all in that.
They did exactly what we expected of them, and now we're going to penalize them for that.
Yes.
Theoretically better because they covered the spread.
And look at the schedule they played off
line
of.
Closed
they went
at 19.
Lincoln to Happy Valley, like before their first bye. Like they did better than what people would have expected that team to do, especially the way they've been playing. No, hell no.
I don't think you need to.
I'll keep it. Jake will throw him out though. But all right, that is the notable scoreboard that I have up there. Now it's open floor. Let's talk a couple of games that we obviously have to mention to wrap things up. Let's talk Boise State, Washington State quickly. Ashton GT, get the guy to New York. There's no way they keep him out, right? 259 yards, 4 scores, and runs that will blow your mind. Unfortunately, Boise State, this is fortunately and unfortunately, because if you're a bar guy or a younger guy like us, sometimes the 11 p.m. games don't hurt you. You're sitting on the couch at the end of your night. You had a few drinks in you. Now you're watching Boise State. But I think the national spotlight would benefit. Give Boise State like a 6:30 kick at home because people need to see this.
I'm trying to look at their schedule, see if they have a real shot at getting one of those like primetime Friday nights. That's like 6:37.
They should win every game on the rest of their schedule. This was really it.
At UNLV is a 9:30 kick in late October, so that doesn't really help them. I mean, the only other one is San Jose State.
Yeah,
I think that's a 6 o'clock kick, but I can't tell what day of the week it's on a Saturday. So like, yeah, they don't. Friday night against San Diego State is the only Friday night prime time they got.
Get Ashton Jeanty in there. Get him in the national spotlight because people need to see this. I mean, his season stats, I believe he had 9 touchdowns because he didn't have any last week. He only played like a quarter and a half, and he still had 100 yards. And this week, 259 yards again against the defense, obviously, that we talked about in the preview, struggles against the run, but he exposed it even more. I mean, the way he was running the football last night was incredible. And this is a massive win for Boise State to roll forward into that G5 playoff bid. So any thoughts on this game from what you saw? I thought Matson was pretty good too. That kid could sling a little bit.
I think you got Washington State after just a ton of high high
Yeah.
energy, high stakes, insane games. They just got caught on a team coming off a bye as a buzzsaw at home. That's the only reason I took them on the board. I thought Washington State was within 7 points good enough. I don't think it just felt like the situation was screaming Boise State to me, and so that's why I went that direction.
And I will say on the Washington State side of things, Mateer was still pretty good. He slung it a little bit better, and he threw a couple balls that were pretty good, especially with the way he runs the football. But I don't think Washington State should be like, oh man, there goes our season. Washington State Cam Ward football, where we just go downhill from our 4-0 start. Like, I still think that team's going to be good, especially with the Mountain West schedule they have. Like, they should win a majority of the rest of their games, but huge win for the Broncos. They'll definitely move up in the top 25, as we were just talking about the AP poll. Yeah. But quickly mention that. Any closing thoughts on that one? Yeah.
I wanted to give a quick shout to Rutgers Friday night. Just won a football game. That's what that one came down to. It got tough. It got gritty. It got Big Ten-ish. Washington, welcome to it. That's you play Rutgers on Friday night, it's going to get Big Ten-ish fast. And it did. So good for Rutgers winning that one. That was
and I'll get to talk about them. I get to talk about them this week. Nebraska Rutgers on Saturday.
Should be a fun one. I'm happy about that one. I'll have a good time watching that one.
That one should be a matchup. Nebraska opened as a 6.5 point favorite this morning, JP. 6.5.
Can we officially bury the Florida State Seminoles?
Oh my good God.
Watching SMU's back. SMU's back. This is the SMU team I wanted to see the whole year.
We wrote them off after the first couple of weeks. We're like, oh man, SMU's not going to be what we thought. And now they're just decimating teams. I believe they ended up winning that one 42-16 last night.
Slaughtered them.
Why? And DJU, I think he threw 2 touchdown passes, which is like his best game of the year, which is telling you everything you need to know. But why in the world is Florida State as bad as they are? They are terrible, man.
Offensive line's not very good. Skill positions haven't shown up on offense. The defense checked out, apparently, against SMU, who has a good offense, very good weapons, very good backs. The quarterback change obviously helped out this team a ton. But yeah, there's a lot of things that just missed. Like, you portal heavy 2 years in a row and you missed in one and you hit on the other one. That's how it goes sometimes, it feels like.
What a massive win for SMU. Well, not massive, but they handled business even more than we thought they would. But God, man, Florida State fans, you got to feel like they're in it now. I mean, undefeated regular season to this is the product that comes out of an undefeated regular season.
Not great.
Good was Jordan Travis, Jesus. But all right, that is. Go ahead. There's one more we got to talk about.
I was going to say Utah. Do we want to
Yes. This is it. This is the last one.
I want to tell Whittingham, and I know he knows this, that like we can't play this game all the time. At some point, your only shot at a chance at the playoff is if Rising plays. You have to win the conference. Now you can't go undefeated. You lose to an Arizona team, and don't move the ball against them. Like, guys,
Isaac Wilson,
this is what I mean.
20 for 40. Isaac Wilson was 20 for 40 with 2 picks.
It's just, I get that he's hurt and whatnot, but is he hurt enough where he can't do anything? Because you need him to play. You're playing with fire in this situation.
This is the Arizona team that we thought like could be the scary version. Like, we didn't know what we were going to get with all the exits. They retained 2 obviously massive pieces, and all of a sudden now they're holding Utah to 10 points on the road and still slinging it around. Fafita made a few throws that were insane. Like, this is a massive win for Arizona, the team we thought they could be. Huge win.
Because a lot of people wrote them undefeated in Big 12 play.
Yep.
Right.
Well, and that's it didn't count.
And that's, you beat the top dog. Now you get Tech, and then BYU, and then a bye week, Tech, BYU, Colorado.
Ooh, BYU, Arizona.
4-0 ain't out of here. Yeah, BYU will be a ton of fun. It's in Tucson. It's not in Lubbock. It doesn't get weird there. Colorado comes to Tucson. Man, go win 3 more. And we're looking at Arizona again like, hey, like, I know we got blown out in Manhattan, but it does not matter because we're undefeated in conference play right now.
And this is what I wanted to bring up from the Utah game is what a different narrative we have this week to where we went last week, Oklahoma State, Utah wins on the road against the highly ranked teams within the conference. And you're like, oh, yep, Utah's the front runner. Here comes Arizona. Here comes Kansas State, and now it looks like a Kansas State-controlled league again after they just got blown out by BYU. Yeah. Maybe BYU's in that mix now, and Iowa State just keeps winning. They played a bad Houston team and handled business. Like, this conference is still wide open. Like, there is no front runner in the Big 12. Colorado went on the road and blasted UCF, put them in that mix now, too, with how these teams have been looking. Mm-hmm. Who's going to win the Big 12?
I still think it's Utah, but we have to get Rising back. At some point, he cannot play another year. I know he has eligibility for one more year, but he cannot play another year.
You'd be shocked. Guys, some way, some rule. Some way, some rule.
The only way you get to the playoff. He is your ticket to win the Big 12. He was your ticket to go undefeated. He was your ticket to make any noise in December. And that cut must be pretty egregious if we're not playing him, because that's when you want him in.
I don't get it. He was supposed to play last week. Yeah. What happened over practice? He recut it?
I just think Whittingham will never tell you. I would assume he's not playing until you see him take a snap. I'm dead serious. Like, just assume he's not playing.
I mean, you would have to at this point, because you got to think that maybe there was some sort of narrative in the room that was like, hey, we won last week against Oklahoma State. We should be able to handle business with Wilson and Arizona. And then it was just like, all right, well, there's no point in putting Rising in now. Yeah. There's no Fafita not for the week.
What an environment to lose in. That place had to have been ready to roll. And it was at night. It was in Rice Eccles. They looked great in all black.
Hardest stadium to win in college football, Reese says.
It's true. Reese says that. But, man, just not one you want to lose.
No, absolutely not. But it absolutely huge win for Fafita. McMillan wasn't even a leading receiver on that in the game. I mean, so you have other weapons on the outside, and the Big 12 just feels so wide open that it's going to be the most fun conference to cover the rest of the year. So shout out to Jake. Keep checking in on Somewhere in the Middle, Jake's Big 12 show, because he breaks down every team every week, week by week, previews and recaps. So check that out, because this is a conference that you're not going to want to miss anything the rest of the year. But that wraps everything up for Week 5 recaps. We covered a lot. We talked about a lot of games. If there are games that we missed, let us know. We'll cover it on the next week's show maybe. But we appreciate you being here. We will see you Wednesday night. I believe it'll be 6:30 again, but we'll preview Week 6. And then we will keep it going, baby, because college football season's in full swing. We're starting conference games. It's going to get real messy real quick. It's the best sport on earth. Everybody got to get to learn that again last night. But we appreciate you being here. JP, take us away.
Play it.